Hello, welcome back to Fire Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Suzerain. So last time we left off, we made some kind of iffy decisions on our school curriculum. We decided to lobby pretty hard for support in the assembly, and made a potentially sketchy deal with Marcel Caronti leading up to this economic talk about corporate privatization. So, before we get into that meeting, though, we've got a couple reports and a couple newspapers, so let's hit those up. Starting off with the Whole Sword Post. Swordish Arcasian Joint Drills Earlery Air Base. Because you have been granted access to Earlery Air Base, or having been granted access to Earlery Air Base, has been running joint military drills with Swordish planes. The exercise is indicative of the deepening trust between our country and Arcadia following the deal, during which Arcadia has also promised Sordland financial, logistical, and equipment support. And Geopolitico, tensions keep rising in the Markian Sea. According to reports from the Agnolian government, the Foxlandian fleet, which has been patrolling the Markian Sea, was directly responsible for the disappearance of 2 fishing vessels, a drilling ship and an oil tanker that belonged to Agnolia. Prime Minister Van Horten called the Alliance of Nations to investigate the incidents. Prime Minister Van Horten condemned Chancellor Hegel in his speech yesterday, saying the Chancellor is trying to imprison us in our homes with a show of strength, but he should know Agnolians are not scared. We are always ready to fight for our home. Just like an escalating dick measuring contest over there in this nice little island here. Cool, alright. So we have a report from Arvory on the Navy activity in the sea. Whatever, the Markian Sea. Of course, the Navy is active in the sea. The Helluland Island has been a disputed territory for many years between Agnolia and Fogsland, with Sordland standing on the sideline. Fogsland's increased Navy activities in the Markian Sea are heightening a standoff between the two nations and sharpening their rivalry for each other. That's just what the news report said. And Suzerain, we got 2 things going here. Illegal crossings rise at Valen border. Border police have reported an increased number of arrests as Bluish and Vajik refugees attempt to enter the country from Valen. Temporary detention centers have been erected in Suzerain to process the deportation of the illegal entrants. And BFF recruitment. It is reported that in the villages around Suzerain, a group of BFF missionaries are seeking to recruit militants to fight for the BFF. Governor Braun reported that the gendarmerie forces in the area are now actively working towards eliminating the threat. Nice, so both those reports are pretty bad, but for totally opposite reasons. Cool, alright. Well, let's go piss off some oligarchs here. Ownership changes at major corporations. Lucy and I arrived at the Ministry of Economy. Assistants took our coats and showed us into the meeting room. Simon, Edith, Gus, and Mikhail were waiting. As soon as I entered, the chatter stopped and they stood up. After a few pleasantries, everyone but Simon took their seats. He opened his briefcase, produced a folder, and proceeded to go over some of the documents. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Ministry of Economy. Without further ado, we are of course here today to discuss our economic shift towards privatization. Mikhail and Edith exchanged smiles. Mr. President? Before you arrived, Mikhail and Edith were expressing their delight at your decision to go down this path. Yeah, wonderful news, I'd say. I'm glad we're staying firmly on the path to market economy. This was a right decision. It will boost our economy by providing the government much-needed funds right now. We can then use these funds to increase development for the future. It's a win-win situation for sure. Glad we're on the same page. Certainly. Simon handed me and everyone else in the room 2 neat stacks of documents. Well, let's move on to how we can go about implementing a privatization plan. Please turn to page 6. Alright, turn to page 6. Title was Sordland State Corporation. And as you can see on the document, the first company up for discussion is the Sordland State Corporation. The Sordland State Corporation, or SSC for short, has been around for over half a century. Most recently, they've been handling a wide range of state construction projects. In their portfolio, they have government buildings, various infrastructure projects, state libraries, embassies, basically anything government-related. Privatizing a company like this would certainly increase the government's budget. And that, of course, would result in lots of opportunities for us to provide for our citizens.
funds could also be used to boost our popularity, especially with the elections approaching, not to mention the various other areas in which we can and should spend money. However, there is one catch. The conservative majority of the USP would not like this decision, at all. For them, these state companies are part and parcel of Swordlish identity. If we privatize these companies entirely and sell too many shares in them, it will have consequences for us in the Assembly.
What would the effects be if we fully privatize the SSE? We would gain tremendous amounts of money for the government. We can invest that money in future government projects, which would popularize our administration and increasing the chances for our re-election.
That popularity might not make up for losing the lion's share of the Conservative vote. Conservatives comprise the majority of the Assembly. If we hurt their national pride, they'll churn on us. I am against full privatization. We shouldn't make enemies at this stage.
What if we just sell a minority? It would be better than nothing, but why stop there? A minority stake wouldn't help our governance much. We need to be decisive.
On the other hand, a minority share would create less friction. This would be my preference.
What about a majority share?
This is certainly a very good option. The state would keep some of SSC's operations under control, and the government would have a lot of gains.
I'm leaning towards this option myself. Obtaining control, increasing our budget, don't see a downside.
Let's move on to the next option.
Very well. Please turn to page 26.
I turned to page 26. The title was Nedam Mining Group.
Nedam Mining Group is one of the largest mining corporations in Eastern Marcopa, let alone Sordland. They call themselves the leaders of the world in coal. They certainly have enough evidence to back that up. Perhaps they're not as large as SSC, but we still have a lot to gain if Nedam Mining Group is privatized. I fully support privatization of this company to any extent. Certainly a good option to gain enough capital to end the recession once and for all.
I have contacts in Nedam. It is one of the most valuable corporations of the last decade. Yeah, I can vouch for that. I have personal experience with the company myself. It would be a great addition to any portfolio.
Well, let's ask the exact same questions again. What would the effects be if we fully privatized?
It would be a very profitable sell.
Many people would kill to have a portion of that company. I do think this is a good option. We could simply fully privatize Nedam along with SSC to bring in a large influx of money into the government.
Mr. President, I hate to repeat myself, but fully privatizing one state-owned company, let alone two, will anger our conservative voter base. All the budget in the world won't matter if you aren't re-elected.
Oh, what if we just sell a minority share?
Coupled with minority share of SSC, that is the way to go.
It would, however, be a lost opportunity. I think we should sell a majority share instead.
Definitely not a bad idea at all.
Well, what about the majority share? My preference is selling a majority share of both SSC and Nedam. It'll give us the most value. I think we should go with this choice.
This might still generate a backlash from the Assembly and the general public. We should go for a minority share instead.
I'm ready to make a decision. Sounds good. Let's go over the document once again.
I read all of Simon's documents once more and flipped to the last page. It's time to make some decisions.
Okay, the companies listed below represent the two largest state corporations which play a key role in several strategic industries. You can privatize them by selling a minority stake, majority stake, or by selling them entirely to private interests.
Well, I'm going to do like, there we go. And do like, basically everyone but Lucien suggested, and sell a majority stake. So, going to minority state owned. Right? Yeah, fully state owned, minority state owned. Yeah, so we'll sell majority stake in both companies. And done. Yes, I'm sure. I signed the document altering the ownership of the Big Four with a flourish. Simon leaned back in his chair.
So, this is the path we're taking.
I don't know why I made it sound like he's completely disapproving, but that's okay. I want to thank you, Mr. President. This decision will revitalize our economy. Although I wish we could have proceeded with privatization in greater capacity, it's a start.
Certainly a step in the right direction.
Partial privatization will still deal damage to a conservative voter base, but it's nothing we can't handle. suspect that regardless, we will lose the support of some conservatives in the Assembly. What the gains we receive will offset the losses.
I hope you're right.
I will do the best I can. If you'll excuse me, I have to get to work immediately. There's much to be done.
Lucian packed up his bag and started making his way to the entrance.
That will be it for today, then. I know everyone has very busy schedules. Thank you all for coming.
Good work, everyone.
Indeed.
I put the documents in my suitcase and left the room with Lucian. Ooh, nice. Okay. Government budget increased by 3. And interestingly enough, that didn't appear to affect our country overview at all, which is kind of weird, but okay. Alright, I don't see any other reports, so let's head straight here. Oh, it probably won't change until we look at the results of the economic direction. But first off, we're going to go veto this Unified Language Act. The UELA passes the following into laws. Section 1 enforces that the educational institutions of Sordland teach all classes except for foreign languages in the official language of the country, unless they are given specific approval by the Ministry of Education. Universities, technical colleges, and other schools that provide classes in any language other than Sordish will receive suspension of operations until they apply for the approval process. Section 2 enforces the law through defunding penalties or total shutdowns of schools. Yeah, absolutely vetoing that. I mean, well, obviously they speak Sordish, but, like, ESL classes are incredibly useful for any sort of, like, immigrants or refugees or literally anything. And I assume that's the same here. And this is looking like it's just trying to screw over basically any foreigners, so no, that's a hard veto. Okay. Alright. Now let's go take a look at our results here. The privatization process had begun, and as I had expected, Sordland's 2 most prominent oligarchs wanted to speak to me about it. Lucian showed Marcel Cronti and Walter Tusk into the conference room. The 2 men sat across the table from me, leaving an empty chair in between them.
Good to see you, President. It's been a while. Here, take this, a gift.
He brought out a bottle of Earlery Maroon 30-year-old.
I heard Peter say this is your favorite one.
Great business as always.
As always.
Marcel burst out laughing. Old man, you always think so small. You lack the vision to see the bigger picture. Marcel approached me and we shook hands. It's nice to see you, Mr. President. Here, a real gift. He took a set of car keys from his pocket and gave them to me. The hell? Come, take a look. I looked out the window. On the road leading to the palace, I saw a glittering, brand new Randolphini sports car. A car that only the richest of the richest in Sordland could afford. It's yours. You can't take this. Of course you can. It's a gift. Surely better than a bottle of whiskey.
Little boy. Do you think I can't do better? Me, Walter Tusk? Got this little pencil-thin mustache, bro.
Alright, why are you two showering me with gifts?
No reason. Really? No reason? I bet this has nothing to do with the recent privatizations. Anyway, gentlemen, please take your seats.
They sat down. Lucian produced a set of documents from his briefcase. He put on his reading glasses.
So, Mr. Tusk and Mr. Cronti, President Rain is about to sell private shares in Sordland's 2 largest national corporations. And now you're here, showering him with gifts. You're both clearly more skilled at business than you are at subterfuge. So tell us, why do you deserve to claim these shares before they go on the general market?
Walter cleared his throat.
President, listen. We, you and I, haven't been on the best of terms lately, but I want to nurture a profitable relationship between us where we both win. These shares are very important for me. If I had them, I could do so much more for Sordland, so much more for you. You haven't even seen what I and my connections are capable of. Do you want to get re-elected? No problem. I'll make sure of it. This is my offer to you. I'll do whatever it takes to make you president for another term. Doesn't it sound great?
Alright, what about you, Marcel?
He can't do anything. He's not capable enough to.
Mr. President asks me, not you. Before you spew these big words, make sure you can actually do it, Walter. Mr. President, first of all, Mr. Tusk here is lying about the extent of his influence. True, he might have command over some people in the Assembly, but what he's sitting on top of right now is built by my father, Conrad Caronti. I'll be straightforward with you. If you give me the shares, I will topple this old man. Which means I will have the same influence he does over the Assembly. I can sway them as you like, but that's not all, Mr. President. Don't forget that I have something that gives me an edge over this man and his archaic ways, a powerful tool, control over the media. I can give you both power over both the Assembly and the Sordish public, basically a guaranteed win. You could never, ever hope to beat this offer.
You little snake. You're 20 years earlier to be head of the Lothar group. I made the group what it is. Perhaps, but Marcel has a point. What is the decision, Mr. President? Yeah, what's it going to be?
Marcel leaned forward with anticipation. Ooh, a little bit of insider trading. Doesn't matter, it's going to Marcel anyway. The shares will go to Marcel.
What? Haven't you heard a word of what I said?
It's alright, old man. You learned your place today. Thank you for the wise decision, Mr. President. I'll arrange a small transfer as a personal thanks.
Very well. Here's the paperwork.
Ooh, donations. Nice. Lucian put a stack of papers in front of Marcel. Pointed to various sections and pages in the stack of papers.
You'll need to sign here, here, and here.
After the papers were signed, Marcel and Walter stood up. Oh, why did Walter stay? I figured he would have stormed out.
I think we all have very busy schedules. I'll take my leave now. See you later, President.
Yeah, get out of here, you dick. I'll take my leave as well. The two men packed their belongings and left the meeting room. Alright, I can't seem to do that guy's voice, like, remotely consistent, but whatever, I don't care. Ooh, wow, I got a whole bunch of updates here. Okay. Got a codex update on Marcel Caronti here. Let's see, they'll be down here at the bottom, I assume. No, maybe not. Okay, well, I'm not going to read that. It's pretty long. Got Churn 7. Veto the Unified Education Language Act. Pursue privatization. Beans. Alright, political overview. Got factions. Oh, I see. So, really all it did was it just changed, so Marcel Caronti took over as the most powerful member of the oligarchs, which is definitely useful. Alright, well, let's see what the newspapers have to bitch about today. Alright, Whole Sword Post. Police launched successful raids. Earlier this week, the police launched raids on shops and warehouses in Arvory and Estord. Their operations are reported to confiscate more than 2,000 illegal firearms and drugs. But just 2,000 drugs? Not quite sure what that means, but that's cool. The captain of the police force in charge of these raids has released a statement saying that the shops are from the two notorious crime families, the Skinner and Coronelli families. These operations were only possible due to the law enforcement budget increase. It has allowed us to launch investigations of the local police, purging the corrupted ones getting information about their networks, said the Ministry of Interior. It appears that thanks to President Anton, law and order will soon come back to Sordland. Coolio. Alright, privatization of Sordish State Corporation and Netta Mining Group. Today, the government has announced changes to the ownership of the two of the largest state corporations in Sordland. Under President Rain's new privatization plan, a sizable portion of Sordish State Corporation and Netta Mining Group, including their subsidiaries and operations, will now belong to the private sector. This move is estimated to reduce the effects of the recession. However, there is still uncertainty and speculation among the experts of the state. The upcoming months will show the reality behind President Rain's decision. And the economists are definitely going to be talking about that. Rain determined to end recession. President Rain has shown that he has what it takes to stop the recession as he announced his most ambitious plan to date, partial privatization of Sordish State Corporation and Netta Mining Group. Solving the recession may not be an easy task, but this is a definitive step to end it once and for all. In the short term, a sizable portion of the assets of these companies will be privatized and procured by the highest bidder. In the long term, this will trigger a revitalization of our economy by introducing a healthier competition in the storage marketplace. This healthy competition will be the key in stopping the recession due to the improved efficiency as the result. Privatization is the solution to the recession, and President Rain has proven that this time he will fix the errors of his predecessors. I don't know if I'll fix anything, but sure, we're going to give it a try. Alright, do we have any... Doesn't look like there's any other reports, so... Negative presidential approval rating. Sweet. Recent approval rating polling conducted by Chief Strategist Galad has shown that we have landed below the 25% approval rating. Our administration's performance has been widely questioned by the diverse poll taken by 1,000 attendees from all regions of Sordland. Fantastic. Alright. Well, this right here could very well make or break us for presidency here. Now, the Assembly vote on the constitutional changes. Surge was driving me toward the Grand National Assembly for today's historic vote. It was a big day. I wondered whether my attempt at changing the Constitution would end any differently than Alfonso's. I looked out the window as the noise of the city diminished and saw that we were already inside the palace complex. The complex housed the buildings of all government branches in the center of Holzord. It was one of the biggest developments in Sordland. The Maroon Palace stood on a small hilltop surrounded by trees. We passed by the palace and entered the forest that separated it from the Grand National Assembly. We drove on the small road that wound through the forest. It was a warm day, so I rolled down the window. I could hear birds singing from the trees.
Are you okay back there, sir?
Hey, Serge, I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm as good as I can be, sir.
Serge made a left turn out of the forest and entered the vast garden area of the assembly.
Did you know that Mr. Tarkin Sol came to Holzord this morning? I heard some politicians talking about it today. Apparently, this is the first time he's come to the city in the last 5 years. I thought he left the mainland and lived on Duru Island, never to return back to politics. But they're saying he might be here to exercise his Member of Honor rights for the first time.
Slow down, Serge. Are you sure?
Yes, sir. I overheard several men talking about it around the gardens of the assembly. It could just be rumors, of course. Do you think he's here about today's vote?
Yes, Serge, most likely.
Well, I'm sure he'll support you, sir.
We'll learn soon enough. Serge drove inside the gates of the parkway and parked the car.
We have arrived, sir.
Thank you, Serge.
Of course, sir. Good luck with the vote.
I walked up the white stone stairs of the Grand National Assembly. The entrance looked like a temple gate from the classical era. The door opened to reveal vast corridors of wood and white stone. I joined the crowd of people who were walking slowly towards the parliamentary hall. Suddenly, I noticed Lucien emerge from the crowd of packed politicians in front of me. He looked relieved when he saw me.
Ah, sir, there you are. Have you seen Vice President Vector? He's nowhere to be found.
I have just arrived, Lucien.
I hope Mr. Vector arrives soon, too. At any rate, how about yourself? Are you ready to finally face the assembly, sir?
Lucien, I've just heard something worrying from Serge.
We'll address that later, sir. Come, we must go inside.
We followed the crowd into the parliamentary hall. After we were inside, Lucy and I separated to take our assigned seats. I went up to the mezzanine overlooking the hall and sat down. I waited as the MPs took their places inside the hall, one by one. After a while, I saw Gloria walk to her elevated seat at the center of the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We will shortly begin with today's agenda of the USB's proposed changes to the Constitution of Sordland. After a short while, everyone was in their seats. According to the current Constitution, constitutional amendments require a 2/3 majority in order to reach Assembly approval. If the vote succeeds, the proposal will be sent to the Supreme Court. The proposal in question includes these points. She started reading the proposal to the Assembly. First section of the changes, Article 57 is modified with the following. She continued reading the proposal, highlighting each section. Section 2, paragraph 36. She went on. May not exercise his right to... and on. The justices of the Supreme Court. Most of the MPs seem like they're already falling asleep. A simple majority is considered... See, it was really hurting my back.
Section 4, paragraph 44A. It felt like an eternity had passed. Finally, she finished reading the changes. I hereby invite all of you to vote. She struck her gavel down. The loud bang made some MPs jump up in shock as they woke from their deep sleep. As I previously stated, it will require a 2/3 majority in order to pass. You may now cast your votes. I felt the need to stand up and stretch. I looked down at the hall from the platform I was seated on. Some assembly members immediately walked to the ballot box to cast their votes. Most of them, however, began to congregate in groups around the hall, discussing the changes. Alright, I definitely don't want to yell at them, because that seems like a real douchebag move, and one that'll probably turn off anybody who's on the fence. Definitely don't want to go... You know what, let's just sit back and keep watching. I feel like going down and interfering will just mess with things even more. I saw some people cast their votes, but many were still walking around the hall or talking to each other. Then I noticed Casaro Keebner approaching. He stopped below the mezzanine and looked up at me. Alright, I guess go down and talk to him. I went down to the floor and approached Casaro. Mr. President, how are you feeling about the vote? I'm hoping for the best. The best outcome for this proposal is failure. I've lost my respect for you, Mr. Rain. So many problems in Sordland must be addressed, and yet you insist on stalling us with your democratic reforms. I know you'll fail. You will lose the game, and so will your entire administration. I hope to be there when it happens. Keep hoping, Mr. Keebner. He laughed. He abruptly turned away from me and walked towards the seat. Then I saw Lucien waving at me. He was among a group of people in the corner of the hall. I walked up to him. On my way, I bumped into Monsoon Lake. This is a totally new guy. Mr. President, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I wish you good luck with the vote. I respect your fight to abolish the Member of Honor position. At last, a chance to hold Tucking Soul accountable for what he did to the Bluish people. You have my support. I'd also like to see you support Bluish rights in the future. I hope you stand by us. Yeah, I mean, I kind of already screwed up a little bit with that. But at the same time, I've also been trying to help them out with some of those bills I vetoed, so we're just gonna go with this. Thank you for the nice words. You have my support too. I hope you stand by your words, Mr. President. Anyway, I've got to go cast my vote. He shook my hand and walked away. I finally reached Lucien, by now deep in conversation with another member of our party. He excused himself and turned towards me.
Sir, did you vote yet? We have to be quick.
Wait, I get to vote? Okay. What's the rush?
I'll explain on the way.
I signed my vote and prepared the envelope. Together, Lucy and I walked to the center of the hall to cast our votes. He kept rushing me throughout the process. Gloria bowed her head slightly in respect as she saw his vote. Lucy pulled on my arm and whispered in my ear.
Mr. President, we may have a problem. Tucking Soul is here.
I know.
You have to accelerate the voting process. We need everybody to vote as soon as possible. We don't know what he's capable of right now, but if assembly members see him, he might influence them against the proposal.
Should I talk to him?
I would advise against that right now. The assembly must focus on the vote. Any confrontation between the two of you would draw their attention away.
That's a tough one, because I think if I try to get them to speed up, they might kind of think there's something wrong. We'll go try talking to Gloria. I walked to Gloria and asked her to speed up the voting. I can't do that, Mr. President. Don't worry, there is already a time limit and we are abiding by the rules. Assembly members are used to this process. That's kind of what I was afraid of. Suddenly, Lucien pulled me aside.
Sir, what do we do?
He pointed to the back of the assembly near one of the exits. I followed his finger to see Tarkin Soul sitting there. He looked much older than he had 5 years ago, but I could tell he had the same fire in him. Some MPs already gathered around him, were chattering and all.
The assembly gradually went quiet as people started to notice Sol's presence in the hall. Should we do something?
We should refrain from giving him the spotlight he expects. Maybe you can address him after the vote.
As I was talking to Lucian, I spotted Kasara Keebner walking to the back of the hall towards Tarkin Sol. He bowed him from Sol and gave him a military salute. Seeing this, more people started to approach him. Suddenly, Gloria came up behind us. Gentlemen, why don't you go back to your seats? Let's follow the procedure. Oh, by the way, we have 251 members today. As you can see, the Member of Honor is here. He's already cast his vote.
Has he now? So, Miss Tori, how many votes are missing?
Only a few. Albin Clavin and 3 other men approached us with envelopes in their hands. And these must be them. Good day to you, gentlemen, Madam Speaker. Good day, Mr. Clavin. I'm surprised to see you here, considering the way you ignored your own party. Don't worry, Mr. President, we are here. Relax. He smiled. He gestured at the men behind him. Let's get this over with, gentlemen. They cast their votes and walked away. Now, why don't you two go back to your seats as well?
Very well, we shall.
We both went back to our seats. When I returned back to the mezzanine, I saw Peter sitting in the chair next to mine. Did you cast your vote? Oh, yes, of course. He looks at Gloria as she and her assistants counted the votes. The speaker's seat was only a few meters away from our platform. I really hope this proposal goes through. Sol is here. What? There we go. He's at the back of the hall. Ah, fuck. Tried to get Gloria's attention by waving at her. How many votes left? Gloria looked at Peter. She looked annoyed. 117 ayes. 50 more votes to count. Peter turned to me. What? 50 votes left and we still need 49 more ayes? Shit. It's okay. There's hope. Come on. Peter looked uneasy. Peter pointed at where Franz Richter was sitting. Look at Franz over there. I'm sure he is behind this mess. You shouldn't have trusted him. It's not over yet, Peter. Don't jump to conclusions. Well... A single bang from Gloria's gavel reverberated across the hall. Everyone fell silent. The voting has been concluded. I leaned forward to hear the results. The proposal has 122 ayes and 129 nays. It did not even reach the number of signatures that supported it. Thereby, the Grand National Assembly has decisively rejected the changes to the Constitution. The Assembly was roaring with all kinds of different reactions. I felt destroyed. I lowered my head and closed my eyes for a second. God, I'm sorry. This is bad. The MPs kept shouting in the hall. Among them, I heard Franz Richter's voice. Blame the President for this result. He and his party's weak attitude towards real change doomed him from the start. He's just like his predecessors, enjoying the privilege of the presidency while ignoring the responsibility that comes with it. It is time to realize that real change will only come from real reformists. The People's Freedom and Justice Party will keep leading this movement. And yes, I forgot how his voice went, but that's okay. The reformist MPs started applauding him. Suddenly, I noticed Tarkin Sol slowly rising from his seat at the back. He seemed to be struggling and used his cane for help. He stood and gazed around the hall as all of the members of the Grand National Assembly went silent. I kept watching him as he stared at the MPs. He walked out the exit as 2 of his guards held the doors for him. Ah, thank God he didn't do anything. Soul or no soul, we are definitely fucked. Neither the party nor the public's going to be pleased. Screw Soul and the party, we were always on our own. You're right. So you think we can still survive this? Yes, if the USP abandons us, we'll form a new party. He looked at me with surprise. I'll follow you anywhere, Anton. We both looked down at the floor for a while. After regathering our thoughts, Peter and I walked out of the assembly hall. We waited for Serge by the entrance. Well, shit. I mean, to be fair, that went kind of how I expected, but I honestly thought that Richter was going to help us there. Alright. Well,
let's take a look at the news here and see what the reactions to our horrible failure are. Alright, from the Whole Sword Post. The Assembly voted against constitutional changes. The Grand National Assembly of Sordland on Friday rejected the amendments to the Constitution as proposed by the United Sordland Party. I officially announced the rejection of the constitutional amendments, said Speaker Gloria Tory, after the proposal was rejected in a public session. According to Tory, 122 lawmakers voted in favor of the amendments, failing to reach the 166 threshold. Only one member of Assembly abstained from voting in the session, attended by 250 members of the 250-seat Parliament, including President Rain and Member of Honor Tarkeen Sol. The proposal didn't even get votes from the 150 people who signed it in the first place, said Tory after the results. Yeah, that's not good. We definitely got screwed over. Alright, from the Radical. Constitutional proposal rejected by the Assembly. Count us unsurprised. Thanks to heavy opposition and a special appearance from Old Man Tarkeen Sol himself, President Rain couldn't manage to get his constitutional reforms past the Assembly. We have been advocating for changes to Sol's dusty constitution for ages, although it's doubtful that the changes Rain was advocating were the same as those we had in mind. Still, the failure is discouraging. With Rain's reforms in the wastebasket and his reputation similarly trashed, nobody else is likely to try changing the Constitution for years to come. Okay. Well, that's not good at all. That's a significant blow to our goals as president here. And on that very sad note, I think it's time to end for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see y'all next time.